Welcome to another Midweek message. I'm so glad that you've decided to join in. Well, this week we are looking at the word testimony. So our passage is Revelation chapter 12, verse 11, and I encourage you to read it or read along with me now. Revelation chapter 12, verse 11 says, "And they have defeated him, who is Satan, by the blood of the Lamb, who is Jesus, and by their testimony. And they did not love their lives so much that they were afraid to die." Now, this is a very powerful verse. It's speaking about how Jesus has defeated the enemy and how radical a believer's life should be in following Jesus, that they are not afraid to die. And in between these two phenomenal thoughts are these words, "and by their testimony." You and I, we have a testimony of how we came to know Jesus, a testimony of how God has worked in our lives. And by our testimony, the kingdom of Satan, the prince of this world, can be defeated. We can proclaim and grow the kingdom of God through our story. And that is just so awesome, because we don't need to study that. We don't need to sit and ponder that. It's our story. We know it. We can share it in the shops. We can share it with our friends. We can share it with our family. And a great way of sharing our testimony to keep the balance is a 3-minute testimony. You do 1 minute of who you were before Christ, 1 minute on how you got to know Christ, and 1 minute on who you are after Christ. It is a great way of just having a testimony in your pocket, so that if you're in the queue, you could just share your testimony with someone and maybe you can lead that person to Christ. And so here is my 3-minute testimony of how I came to know Jesus. So I grew up in a family where we would go to church once a year, and it was either for Christmas or it was for Easter. So our relationship with the Lord was not really something to be talked about. It wasn't really something that was a reality. For my mom, it maybe was. She was a person of faith. But for myself personally, well, I thought that Jesus was a non-entity and that the church was profoundly stupid and God was a God of punishment and of wrath and was there to just take me out when I did something wrong. And so I didn't have the best view of Christianity and the best view of Jesus at all. And it was only when I was in grade 9 and grade 10 that I started to see that, oh my word, there's so much more to life than what I thought. That the church was not stupid, that Jesus was the everything of the universe. And being a Christian wasn't a waste of my life. And how that came about was on a Friday night, my youth pastor, Craig Wilcock, back in that time, when I was 15 years old, almost 15 years ago, I'm 30 next year, and he asked me on one Friday night in the group setting, who wants to give their life to Jesus? And I remember putting up my hand and saying, "Craig, I want to give my life to Jesus." And he prayed for me, and that started me on the wonderful journey of knowing Jesus. Soon after that, I was baptized at my local church, and that was just a wonderful day and celebration of the grace of God in my life, that he has saved me, that he has opened my eyes to see that he is not a punishing God, but a God of grace, that he didn't just send down punishment to me for my sins, but he sent his punishment to his son Jesus to die for my sins, and that he loved me and he has loved me from the beginning of the world, and he will always love me. And so from that point, that was back in 2007, has started this wonderful journey of growing with the Lord. Now, that hasn't always been easy. There's been times of doubt. There's been times of struggle. There's been times of a lack of faith on my part. But through and through, God's grace has kept me going. God's grace has been abundant, and God's faithfulness to me has been absolutely awesome. He has always brought me through every single time. And then he also brought Tara and Benji into my life, 2 amazing blessings. And he also called me into full-time ministry, which was just a wonderful gift from God in order for me to full-time dedicate myself to growing in his word and sharing his word to other people. And so that has been my 3-minute testimony. And I hope that it has got you to think, maybe Who is Jesus in your life? Well, 3 minutes goes by rather fast. But think about the person listening to you. It may have felt not like 3 minutes, but it may have felt like a very long time, or it may have felt like a very short time. But it may have been exactly what that person needed to come to know about Jesus. Consider how you came to know Jesus. You should have just been thinking about it as I've talked about the word testimony. May have just popped up into your mind. Did you come to know Jesus by just waking up one morning and saying, I'm going to give my life to Jesus? Or did you wake up one morning after someone has shared the gospel with you with their words, and you came to know Jesus by the testimony of someone else? And so it is to our responsibility to share the testimony of the good news of Jesus Christ to those around us. Because if we are not sharing the good news to those around us, well, who is? That is the wonder and the glory of the gospel, that God has given us the mandate of proclaiming his gospel to this world. And it is our honor and it is our duty to do that. And so I encourage you to think about your testimony. Prepare a 3-minute testimony. Don't overthink it. Just let it off the cuff. Maybe have a little timer there. Share amongst your family. Start with your friends. And just enjoy sharing about and remembering the grace of God in your life. Until next week, bye.